Greetings and blessings. Welcome once again to One Love Center for Spiritual Living. I am Reverend Rodney, and as you can see, I have a guest, a dear friend, and a wonderful, powerful presenter and contributor today. And that is Baba Oluwole, Ifakunle, and we'll hear from him in just a moment. We're going to start as we usually do with our opening song, which is Choosing Heaven. What are you choosing today? And we start with that song because it's a great way to start your day, whether it's at any time of day. And so also, please feel free to put into the comments what you're choosing, because as I like to say, what you're choosing for yourself, you're choosing for all. Why? Because we're all one. We're all one in one love. So let's go with Choosing Heaven. Yes, choosing heaven, choosing exactly what it is that you desire for your life and the life of the others, and knowing that heaven is within. We have absolutely every opportunity to choose what it is that we desire. And what we desire here at One Love Center for Spiritual Living is to accomplish our mission. And our mission is to provide a stable and welcoming community for all who choose to learn, practice, grow, and play in their unfolding of their understanding of spiritual principles and spiritual living. And we have a vision Our vision is that we see a world as a sacred environment where spiritual living flourishes through the continual growth and development of the learning and the application of spiritual principles. So, One Love Center practices compassion in service, love in action, and joyous, prosperous giving in the community. Our community has been lovingly created as a place of fellowship, meditation, prayer, sacred and healing service, musical celebration, classes, workshops, and spiritual film. And we welcome each and every one, whether this is your first time or you've been here many times before. Welcome. We recognize the splendor of the infinite divine spirit that is you. Please know that we support you in being the best you choose to be in this glorious life. And we thank you for celebrating spirit with us today. Welcome to a place where love grows. Welcome to One Love Center. Yeah, so it's my good pleasure to introduce and to welcome our guest today. A guest contributor is a very powerful, blessed individual, and I'm so grateful to call him a friend and a mentor from afar. He may not know that, but you watch people. You see their aura, you see their glow, and you watch them, you listen, and you learn and get that spiritual education. So I just want to also, very importantly, we are using a book this month, and the book is called Bliss, The Road to Absolute Happiness. And I'm so grateful that not only do we have the book, but we have the author as well. So this month, we are exploring the concept of things we typically find unlikable, such as creepy crawlies, annoying people, challenging situations, and transforming what we would consider unlikable into the lovable. And so I think it's important that we get to recognize that we have a choice. And what we're doing is combining the topic of the month and of this week, of bliss. And so our guest is the author of the book, Bliss, The Road to Absolute Happiness, illustrious and renowned Baba Oluwole, Ifakunle, Adetentu,
Alagbede.
Agabete Manyansa, and I knew that, but thank you. And just a little bit about him. Well, I tell you, he's a man of many passions. He's a venerable, earth-honoring elder, a distinguished professional Babalao, it's an Ifa priest, spiritualist, interfaith minister with an impressive tenure of over 35 years. Also, he's imparted profound lectures and teachings on the sacred philosophy of Ifa, collaborating his academic influence in esteemed situations such as Harvard University, University of Newcastle in London, Hunter College, and New York University, Sarah Lawrence College. And most recently, he was invited to represent practitioners of African religions in the World Alliance of Religions Peace Summit held in Seoul, South Korea. His biggest love, however, and something that I've actually witnessed and get to participate in at the time, was officiating Ewo as the Jebayani Initiated Women's Society, which conducts rites of passage program for both young and older women as well, elevating him to the status of Enya, or trained women with the use of Eje tradition out of southern Senegal. So that's a mouthful. However, there's a whole lot more inside of him that we are going to experience. So with that, I'd like to introduce Baba Oluwole, and please welcome our people here.
Welcome, everyone, and greetings, Alafia, which means peace and health. I wish you all good things. We give praise to Olodumare, to Olorun, to the Sumole, to the Abamole, the Funfuni, Legi, Legi, Kuku, Tekun, Arinisa, Mojuba, Lue, Dearun. So in Yoruba, we give praise to God, the owner of today, the owner of yesterday, the owner of all days to come. He to whom all the Irumole, all the heavenly beings know and exist to be able to support God in his mission to be able to honor and work the universe, the great universe, as we also give praise to our ancestors and to the great diviners and messengers that come down to bring good message to us. So today I'm so pleased and proud to be here on this show and being able to exponentially express one of my passions. Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, we are prayed up and prayed in and prayed on. Thank you so much, brother. Thank you. All right. So yeah, we're talking about decoding unlikability, and one of the ways in which that gets to happen is by focusing on bliss. You know how important it is. Tell us a little bit about your book and about how that came up for you.
So interestingly enough, that you would ask that question. Thank you for that question, in fact, because really I had written about a total of 8 books prior to writing the book on Bliss. And it was almost like a happenstance, and it was, I don't know what it compelled me, but there was an energy that took over, and it was definitely God in making manifest. And I felt like I had almost like a muse sitting on my shoulder, giving me whispers into my ears. And I was every day, all day, ever for until the book was finished, for about 4 or 5 months, just working. And prior to that, I had been writing, but nothing about happiness or really about joy or contentment or anything that was going to be dealing with. But I realized one day waking up that it seems like the most important thing is to be happy. And happiness is a spiritual principle that is not taught, is not something that we're taught in school, not something that we really are aiming for. We're aiming for good character. We are aiming for situational things. We're waiting to try to find entrance into heaven some kind of way. But what about existing and having a sense of freedom here on the earth and living in a sense where I'm not saying every day is going to be a wonderful day. I'm not going to say that everything is going to be happy days, but every day, everything or every experience that we have, we can take a little bit of happiness away from that. And so there's contentment, and some of the most learning experiences that we have had in our lives have never been the happiest of times. It has been hard times that then turns to happy. And so according to my divinity, Rumila says the bitter becomes sweet. The bitter becomes sweet. And whenever we experience bitter, then it turns to sweet.
Awesome. Thank you. And I'm sure there are folks there that can identify with a lot of that. A lot of learning experiences comes through challenges. I'll put it that way. And this segues into our theme, because as you say, there are certain things that are not taught in the schools and even sometimes in our homes or in our culture or our community. And that's learning how to love each other. We're talking about, most of the time, we identify what we don't like and put too much energy into that. So that cancels out any opportunity for joy and happiness when we're focusing on what we don't like and what we don't want, instead of focus on, what is, life affirming, what is joyful, what is happy, and happiness definitely comes from, it's a byproduct of how we live, or what we entertain into our mind, and it expresses outwardly. So that happiness, as we know, that it's an inside job. It's like we can't depend on anybody else to make us happy. To to be in a state of bliss is not dependent on anybody else. So I really appreciate your book. I appreciate you for birthing that. And I certainly urge folks to look it up. And we have some links to contact Baba Oluwole, and put it in. We're going to put it in the comments. All right. So, however, we're going to also jump into some quotes and enter into discussion and dialogue. And the first one is not that. Okay, it's coming up in just a moment. All right. So, this first quote by Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science, science of mind and spirit. He says, I do not care very much for the word tolerance, as though we tolerated each other. That is better than intolerance, but people who are tolerant because they have made up their minds to be tolerant are missing a lot. I like the word understanding. And I think that's important. Tolerant really just means, uh, in the words of like Popeye the Sailor, he would say, "That's all I can stand. I can't stand no more." He had only but so much tolerance. It's limiting. It's not like a spiritual concept. It's a human concept of not using our spiritual qualities. Did you want to comment on that?
Well, one of the things that it reminds me of, or in terms of what I talk about in my book, is really about mindfulness. The idea of mindfulness and being mindful of someone else's experiences and things that you are mindful of, that, that they have an opinion, that they can be an opinion different than yours, and being mindful of how your emotion or your emotional feelings about being intolerant. Right. And so this is the basis of racism. This is the basis of sexism. This is the basis of hatred, and where we are not able to vision ourselves as being mindful of someone else's place and position in the world, and that someone who could be unlike us or different than us or different than most. And so likability, and basically what you said is so very, very true, because I would say about 50% of everything that we have in our life or happen in our life is from within inside of us, right? And so that's part of it. And then it's really only 10% is really going to be related to the experiences in terms of financial experience in homes and cars and all of that. But the next part of it is going to be 40%, and the remaining 40% is going to be from in our own minds. And so mind is all. And so as the Kabbalion says, the book of from the three initiates, it says that the mind is all. And so as we begin to realize that as a man thinketh, as we says in Napoleon Hill in the Think and Grow Rich, he says, as a man thinketh, so then does a man become. And so it is really for us to be able to gravitate towards toning our intolerance to a place of mindfulness by which we're able to assess other situations and people and what could be good inside of, right? So we have a tendency to think of something different as being something bad, but something different gives us an opportunity to expand our own living, our own expansion of our lives and our visions of the world. And so being tolerant is so very, very important, I think.
It is. And then we take it to the other level, and you spoke about that in your book, and I'll read that quote in just a moment. Let me put that on the screen. And it says, imagine a squabble with a dear friend. Instead of jumping in with your perspective, you make it your mission to understand theirs first. And that is by you, of course, Baba Oluwole Ifakunle.
Yeah. So jumping in, and that's really so very important. I mean, because we have these moments of it. I have so many quotes in the book, but this is an interesting thing to really discuss and determine about jumping in. Going in and really, again, it's part of that envisioning yourself, seeing your friendships, seeing the people that you are involved in. When you jump into these positions, or you're quick to act. And so that's where I would go with that, is saying not being quick to act or not to be reactive, right? So we can act, or quick to act, but not being reactive in our
Mhm.
placement of our actions. So that, within good reason, someone steps on your foot on a train, and and you react because it hurt.
Yeah,
Now, how you react is going to determine what the outcome of the further case of what will happen. But we can sneeze on someone, and it could, not purposely. Accidents happen, but it's the reaction of the action that then we have to wonder: is it appropriate? Is it, duly and truly the place of where we need to be when we're trying to live in a place of tolerance and a place of understanding, and living with the unlikable and trying to make as much of our life likable.
absolutely. And thank you for that. That's very powerful. And and the word that you mentioned earlier about, mindfulness, it's like have a mindset of mindfulness.
Mm, mm,
Where we get to ask ourselves questions in the midst of uh, our involvement or interaction with people. Because there's a quote asking us, how would our lives, how would our relationships differ if we only took the time to understand first, like being on the subway and somebody steps on your foot. And, many times, we have that first reaction of pain. But then what comes after that is that it's like, well, why did that happen? And it helps because most of the time, maybe the train lurched or maybe somebody bumped them and then they stepped on your foot. And so it was purely unintentional. And that understanding is the key, and even if they did it intentionally, we still have a choice of how to act or react.
yeah.
You know?
I like that word right there, and actually, I'm gonna actually highlight that on some, because the intentions, and really that's really our choices, right? So we have choices of intention. So we between choices and in intentions, and so out of those two, um, how then do we position our lives, right? And so this is really the ultimately idea of why I wrote Bliss, and why I wanted to have people to have a sense of how to roadmap a sense of happiness. So, it's internal, it's meditation. Meditation is so very, very vital and important. Prayer
Mhm.
is important, right? Meditation, coming and being connective and having connectivity. And so everything is related to something else. There's nothing in the universe that is in absolute. There's nothing that is not connected to someone else. And just the same way that I'm connected to you and connected to your family and to your mother, your father passed, and all of those things, there's connections.
Mhm.
And they are connected to other parts of my life that I don't even know, but I've seen, where I know one of your cousins that I had known for years. And so
Mhm.
we know there's a sense of connectivity, and we say that, that idea of separation, and it's only a 1 or 2% separation, because truthfully they say, oh, that 5% or 6% of us, but it's so closer. We are so closer than we know,
That's
and to one another. And so, and the same thing about religiosities and different frames of thought. Buddha, and you were thinking about Krishna, or we're talking about Hinduism, or Zionist, Taoism, whatever we're talking about, the African traditions, many Yoruba, as I'm Yoruba, from the Akan. But what are the all similar things? What is the connective thing that we have the universe to give praise to? We have the divine creator that we want to give praise to. We want to give praise to the breathing, the air,
Mhm.
the love.
Yes.
Everybody innately wants good things in their lives. And the accessing of good things is what we all have in common. We all want to have a good lodging. We want to have parties, and we want to have places that we can live and eat and grow, enjoy. We want to clean water. I mean, clean air. I mean, what do we want essentially? We really
Mhm.
all the same things, and it doesn't matter how we want to dictate, and the differences, the similarities are far more and greater.
Absolutely. And really that's this description of what bliss would be like in our lives when we accomplish those things, when we have those things. and thank you for bringing in the commonality of all of these customs and religions, because they all have a spiritual foundation. They all have the same things that apply to everybody. Love, peace, joy. Bliss. The happiness, understanding, forgiveness, gratitude. All of those are basic to these religions. And yes, we practice them in different ways in different languages. However, that is our common thread, is the spiritual nature, because we are the expression of spirit. We're all spirit. We don't have to go get spirit. Got to get spirit. No, we are spirit. We have that's who we are. And that's where we connect. Especially when there's a crisis. And people who don't like each other, all of a sudden, they're operating together for a greater good, and that's the bottom line is love. It's like, yeah, that's what brings us and holds us together. Especially in moments of strife or stress, or
Man.
that like with 9/11, or we've had storms and people just pitch in and help and don't ask, what's your religion? It's like, where do you work? No, that doesn't happen. But anyway, yeah.
Love that you spoke about love. And so, we agree, out of one of the many books that I've read over my lifetime, it was one by Ogmandingo that I remembered the most. And he says, I will greet this day with love in my heart. Muscles can split a shield, even destroy life, but only the unseen power of love can open the hearts of men. Until I master this, I'll be no more than a peddler in the marketplace. I'll make love my greatest weapon. And those who I meet will have to defend themselves against its force. My reasoning may cause them suspicion. My clothes may cause them disdain, but my love will melt all hearts, likening to the coldest of clay, because I will greet this day with love in my heart. And I will greet all my friends, and they'll become my brother. And how better for you to greet everyone with love in your heart. And so bliss is about finding that place where love and happiness is, and everything. And if you can imagine looking at someone and just saying, before you say anything to them, that I love you, how would you then talk to them from that point on? So that is where we can then begin to look at the unlikable and turn them into the likable.
Yes.
In terms of looking at them through a frame and looking through them with rose-colored glasses, that we have love in our minds and on our hearts and in our action. Because remember, we talked about action and reaction. Yeah. How do we look when we begin to look at an action and a reaction and send them love? And how then will we, as human beings that are here, because aren't we all spiritual beings having a human experience? And I think you were alluding to that earlier.
Absolutely, that is so true. Thank you for that. That's a great. Is that a poem that you mentioned?
Actually, it's a book. It's called the Greatest Secret in the World by Ogman.
Yes, thank you for that. That's awesome. We have another quote we want to bring up from your book. Okay. No, there's another one. There it is. It says, "We will discover that bliss is not a destination, but rather a way of living and experiencing life." And so we have a question that come up, and this is for folks who are watching. What would change in your daily life if you treated bliss as a practice rather than a prize?
Right. Well, that's it, and that's what it is. And so, getting up and waking up, and in a place of bliss is going to definitely waking up, and you're going to be in a place of self-discovery, right? And so, we're going to be dealing with gratitude, right? The attitude of gratitude is where successes and things coming into our lives, and so we'll have the attitude of gratitude as a place of great possibility and ambition. So I'll be our ambition to be able to wake up and to live in that place of gratitude, and imagine that not only the connectivity and the contributions that you can make to being happy, because bliss is a take on the word bless. And when I thought about writing a book about happiness, I realized that I really wanted to write about bliss, because I wanted it to be something outside of happiness, bigger than happiness. Even though happiness is and contentment is part of me having blissfulness, and it's really about making the contributions that you're going to be able to make. And I feel that I've been able to make a tremendous amount of contributions cross culturally, by not writing a book on some gods and goddesses of the Yoruba pantheon, but dealing with a focus of where everyone can be able to experience and be able to look at something which is really principally across all cultural bounds. And so we all need physical wellness and health. And so, we're going to say, and those practices of getting up and doing your exercises and having an attitude of gratitude and being flexible and adaptable. And that is a very, very big part of what we need in terms of dealing with tolerance. So tolerance is that word that we deal with when we talk about flexibility and adaptability. And without that, is really all of this is about manifestation, right? Because it's the action of doing. It's not an action that is going to be in isolation. It's an action of manifestation. And manifestation is one of the biggest words that was looked up in Google last year in 2024. And that word manifest means to bring about into life, right? And so here we are going to manifest our bliss. What we're going to manifesting our happiness is really about us, is how we practice. How do we look at the world? How do we think about the world? That's 40%. And then also is about our doing. Yeah, I mean, we can be I've seen some very, very happy people as I've traveled the world. I've been to India, I've been to Africa, I've been to, I just came back from Saudi Arabia, and one of my biggest trips came back from Jamaica, and another trip in Trinidad and Tobago. And, I move around. I've been to Seoul, Korea, of course, and then I've been England. I've been lived in Japan and worked in Japan and prayed and did with the Shinto, and I've been to Peru and been in Peruvian in the jungles. And one of the things that I can tell you, there are good people and bad people everywhere. And there are happy people and sad people who are wealthy and poor. And I've seen some of the happiest people have very little financially, have been the happiest, because their idea of the world and how they manifest the world is in a place where they live in complete bliss. They place where they deal with this idea of happiness, waking up, trying to be happy. And that is the connectivity that they find with the universe, with the air that they breathe, and the water that they go and fish in, or the cold water that they go and take a bath with. We have this sense of, water as being hot. No, we have to heat up water. Water is naturally room temperature or cold. Yeah. And so, when we begin to look at the things that we, how we are so disconnected from our source, our life, particularly in inner cities, we begin to see happiness in a very different way. And so, travel broadens one's scope, as Malcolm X said. As once you travel, your scope becomes broadened. So as I broaden our scopes, and Buddha says the road, the path. There's no path to happiness. Happiness is the path.
Yes.
So
yes.
That's what it is. It's about finding that path and living that path, and embarking on it every day as practice.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And I really love, the you mentioned about the practice of start from waking up. I mean, at all times we have a choice about what we're entertaining in our brain, in our mind, what comes up. And I honestly, like, all of a sudden, if it's not making me feel happy, then let me change that. I could just stop. And the concept I believe fully in is let me start my day over again. If I have to start from another prayer or whatever, and like you mentioned, you travel all over the world. All over the world, people are starting their day. I'm like, well, I could start my day again. It doesn't matter what time it is. My 24 hours starts now. And how am I going to think and feel and be now? And yeah, it's like you mentioned, most of it is between my ears. It's like, what am I choosing to entertain or entertain, as Michael Beckwith would say? What are we entertaining? Yeah.
Right. Well, that's another wonderful thing that you used, and that's the idea of living in the now,
Mm-hmm.
being in the now. What is the now? And are you healthy? Are you hungry? Are you warm? Are you cold? Are you? What do you feel now? And again, it goes back to those choices that we make when we are in living in the now. And is everything 100%? No. Is everything bad? No. And if it is, where in that experience can you find
Mm-hmm.
happiness? Because happiness, or whatever you're looking for, you can find something inside of whatever you experience in your life to be happiness, to be,
Mm-hmm.
or to be happy for, or to be mindful of, and to be have gratitude. And that's what it is. It is an attitude. It's such a place of a position that we have to be reminded of. And we need a roadmap. We need a place, a how, and that's what I wanted to write the book about. Giving a
Mm-hmm.
roadmap, giving an alternative, giving a statement, saying that there's a possibility, and if there is a possibility of someone that was willing to read it and be able to seek it, could they get there? And the answer is yes, because there's many people that are there. And I do my best in living happy. Every time you see me, I generally have a smile on my face.
This is true, folks. This is true.
I don't think there's going to be a time. And I work for myself. I live for myself. I'm an independent thinker. And so living inside of a box or living outside of the box, right? So if we continue to live inside of the structure of boxes, or are we willing to be able to think outside of the box and connect all the lines? And old proverb that this exercise of how these make three lines go all connected without going, and that's it, without them intersecting and going across. It's the only way you can do it is thinking outside the
Yes,
box.
that's right. That's right. And yeah, I appreciate it so much that you're dropping all these pearls of wisdom. And it's true, folk. Whatever you see Baba Oluwole, it's magnificent. You get the not just a smile, but you get the warmth and the energy within it. Not just behind it, but it precedes him. Because you may not be looking at the door, but when he comes in. I
Oh,
just want. So I thank you for that. I'm not sure. We may have one more quote before we move into the next part. Let's see. Oh, yes. It says, this is by Ernest Holmes' book, It's Up to You, page 312. He says, we must remember that we are not dealing with a field about which we can say, I do or do not, like to believe thus and so. It is not a question of likes and dislikes. It is only a question of what is so and what is not so. And it's like that's living in truth. And as you mentioned, it's living in the now. What is so now? What's the truth now? And many times, as we've already mentioned, people are living in what's not so, what's not the truth, and only their perception, which of course ends up getting rooted in fear, and the ego, relishes, anything to protect its master, So yeah, my ego, wants to go to work overtime for me, regardless if it's right or wrong. It's like, I got you. I'll protect you. I'll save you. And somebody steps on my foot, and ego could be like ready to battle, regardless of, any level of understanding. So it's like the only question of what is so and what is not so. And that's, as you mentioned earlier, it's about the understanding. It's about taking a moment to assess not just the situation, but my perception of the situation, because that's really what needs to happen. And it's in the now. I know a lot of people will make decisions in the now based on previous experiences that have nothing to do with now. And that's when so many of our issues come to light. How many wars come up from resentments and anger and basically fear, like somebody's going to take something from me, so I'll take theirs first or whatever, you know. But what is so? And I just want to briefly mention about now, NOW. And that's one of my favorite words. And I have an acronym for that. One of them is new opportunities welcome in the now.
I love that.
Yeah,
I
that's
love that. You know, one of the things that you know, just and listen to what you were talking about, that quote, and it's really about how happiness is possible, and
mm-hmm.
it's in a perpetual state, and it's in a quest for us as human beings, and in the humanity that we seek, there is the word bliss as a metaphysical um, scribe or script by which we're able to find that sweet spot, which is
Mm-hmm.
so delicate, you know, that we can poise ourselves between the now existing and the reality. So between now, not reality, and reality, there's a place where we can find the ability to, in our pursuit, to become captivated and captives of this great concept, and we
Mm-hmm.
become the uh, part of that greater thinking of all those great thinkers before us, as we begin to embrace it as a spiritual concept. You know, like I said, I think that happiness is a spiritual concept more than it is just you know, and so the word bliss is being a take on the word being blessed and blissful, and having beyond happiness is where God is in ordained your happiness. How about that? That if you
Mm-hmm.
have this sense of being, God wants me to be happy.
Yeah.
Why? How, I mean, why? Why wouldn't he? He's
Yeah.
provided all the wonderful things of the universe for you to enjoy. And there's a proverb that we talk about, Arumila, and he wanted to know. He asked the fish, he asked the rats, he asked the birds in the air, and the beast in the forest, and he asked them all, you know, would they show gratitude? And they say, for what? They said, for the gratuitous feeding and drinking that you have enjoyed. And they said, no, they wouldn't be thankful because they just took it as being something that they all deserved or had.
Mm-hmm. Took it for granted.
And the consequences of ingratitude led to the untimely death of the birds, the beasts, the rat, the fish. Then he went to human beings, and human beings said, why? And human beings, after being told, he said, because of the gratuitous feeding and drinking you have enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
Human beings said, if I'm shown benevolence, it's only befitting that I show gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
But it's only befitting if we are shown benevolence in life. We've been shown grace. We've been shown those things that we have gratitude in. Once we show gratitude, then, you know, even people respond to us different when we have an excessive sense of gratitude. You know, I'm so thankful for being here. I'm so glad you asked me here. I'm so glad I have an opportunity to speak with you and your listening audience and meet other people who share in their passion for life and wanting to make this world
Mm-hmm.
a better place. Thank you, you know, for providing me this opportunity. And I sincerely mean that. But even this, the sense of me saying that, you have a different sense of what I really feel and what it means to be in pursuit of something greater than ourselves. And that is our divinity.
That's right.
We are all made in the likeness of God.
Yeah.
And if we are likeness in the likeness of God, then we truly have divinity in us. And if we have divinity absolutely has to be find some place for happiness.
Woo, you tie that up beautifully. Yes, indeed. You know, and gratitude is the gift that keeps on giving, you
Yes.
know, because the more we're grateful, the more the universe gives us to be grateful about. And
There
that's just how it works. And the best part about it, folks, the best part about it, Baba, is we don't have to be grateful for anything. We just get to be grateful just because, you
you go.
know, and
There,
the cause is the manifestation. So as we are being grateful, we are being the cause and manifesting more to be grateful about. Yeah, you know, so it's a wonderful circle, it's a wonderful flow of energy just from being grateful, without having to, without having to wait for something to happen. No, nothing has to happen. I can be happy and grateful just because.
Mm.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of people who sit and wait, for their bliss. They sit and wait for their happiness. What is that? For their ship to come in, you
That's
know?
it.
It's
But
like,
we have to be the one with that's holding the rudder,
yeah,
the
that's
rudder
right.
of our ships. And so, oftentimes we're thinking that, yeah, we are being led, and we are led by the vibration of opportunity. The opportunity, I had a story one time. I had someone who had really a real deep desire, needed money, and they'd had a very, very huge problem. They were going to lose their house, and their family was going to be put out, and it was a whole big thing. And you have to also recognize that God will send you the opportunity. And sometimes people don't realize, because they ended up finding money. They ended up finding it, but they didn't know what to do with it. What should
Hmm.
we do? They had to call me to ask me what we do. Right. And so even though it seems so ordinary, and see, this idea of, saying we don't have it. And it's similar to those stories about biblical stories, which talk about having the stone and putting it in the water, and we don't have food to feed you. And they
Yeah.
had, but if we only had carrots, it would make such a good soup. And if they only had a potato, it would make such a better soup. And if they
Right.
only had an onion, it would ever. And next thing you know, they have this wonderful soup before them when they thought they didn't have anything. And we all have so much to offer and so much to give, but we're so busy thinking that we don't have enough. It's
Mm.
never enough. And we live in an abundant world, particularly here in America, with plenty of junk to give away. And
Yeah.
in that, but we don't have what we need. What do we need? We need
Mm.
very little to be content, to
That's
be
right.
happiness, the sense of joy. We could just tell a joke, and that brings me such joy sometimes. Just telling a kid a story, and I
Hmm.
watch the little kids play. And if you watch little kids play, they play like they have no tomorrow.
That's right.
They play like if this is the last day on earth.
That's it.
Play so hard, and they just run, and with the excitement and vigor. Now imagine if we could live like that, as if we still had our child mind,
That's right.
or move away from our monkey mind.
Yeah, that's right. Right. That's
Right.
true. Yeah. Because that childlike, you know, uh, uh, behavior, childlike attitude, childlike consciousness. It's like you play until, somebody says, "Come on in, time to eat," and like, "Oh no," but but yeah, that's it. And like as you mentioned, even in writing the book and doing whatever our creative endeavors are, all of a sudden, we're not hungry. We're time has no concept. We're just doing what we do because that is how, we are motivated in that manifestation. From within, so without. And
Exactly.
Lita put up a. She wants to add to live as a child is the greatest manifestation of happiness. There you go. Yeah, they don't
That,
hold back. Until we teach them to. But
eh,
most of the time, they're just like off to the races. From as soon as they wake up. Yeah.
well, that's what the child wants to do. A child doesn't want to do anything that's unpleasant, right? So
Yeah.
take bitter medicine that could make them feel better. I don't want to do that. I don't want, I want to go and play. I want to play video games all day. I want to play games. And so the great diviner Rumila talked about that, and he talked about that, and that all the divinities that they didn't know the beginning and the end of all things, and we don't know the beginning and end of all things.
That's right.
But if we did, right, and so he would say that the things that we get, we look at them and as being something that we need, and so our passion and our desires chasing things instead of chasing the good times with one another. And so that we have to have this sense of gratitude that we spend time with those who we love, those who we can have an experience with, because things come and things go, things deteriorate, and they begin. And so as all the different divinities would come, they would ask, and one wanted a sword, and another wanted a shield, and another wanted some food, and the other one wanted a woman, and each one had their own desires. But all he desired, the great diviner, was that he said, well, sit and let's play a game. And they couldn't concentrate on the game because they were so busy thinking about those things they wanted, that they couldn't be in the place of now and playing that game and enjoying the now and enjoying the experience. And because we realize that it's little bits of happiness that sometimes make up a big sense of happiness. So those little places of joy that we can pull together. And same thing like writing attitude, a journal that I talk about in my book, about putting together a journaling. And if you're not a big journaling, writing it in your phone, in your notes, something like that, where you can keep it. And then you go over those good times that you've had, so that when you're in a sad place, you can recall those good times.
Absolutely.
And manifest again. Because, there's a sense of recall. And the mind is all, but it's also, it has a default mechanism. It forgets.
It's right.
And so that mind forgetting, can be something that can be a hindrance for us to really experience some of the good things that we had. But we need reminders. And so the reminders is to put your reminders somewhere. And sometimes reminders can be little notes on the wall, or those little cards that you may put on a sticky note on your computer to remember.
Bathroom mirror. Yeah.
Put it on the mirror that I'm still beautiful.
Yeah.
But I'm still beautiful. I'm great. I don't
That's
beg
it.
to. I don't run like I used to. I'm still able to think flexible and move flexible and have those senses if we so choose. And so that's what is really to live like a child. And that is going to be, the greatest of the manifestations of happiness. For sure, that is true.
True bliss. And speaking of which, listening to you, I typed in an acronym because I love acronyms. And Bliss, one of them, I came up with beyond limitation into sacred self.
Okay. Yeah. I love it. I love it.
And listen, children don't even consider a limitation. There's like everything's doable. And that's why they're sparkling and they're shining and they're gleaming and glowing. And I'm sure everybody notices children, especially little children, they don't like to walk. They want to run everywhere. It's like, and what do? No, slow down, don't run, you're gonna get hurt. We try to limit them. But that sacred self of theirs just can't withhold all that energy. They're like, yes, I must express. And that's that sacred self that's within each and every one of us. When we get into our mind and our heart, our soul, of that which we feel that we are inspired to do, there's really no holding us back. We may not be like running fast, but in our mind, it's sometimes you can't put it down fast enough. But I do want to move to the next phase, which we're going to do our affirmations. And so we're going to bring Lita in, and we're going to do some affirmations. You can just, I know you may not be easy for you to read it, so we'll read them, and you can join in.
Okay.
All right. So I invite each one to take a breath and breathe in and exhale, and then we recite the affirmation. And it says, "It is so that bliss is my natural state when I stop resisting life as it is." So let's take another breath and recite that again. It is so that bliss is my natural state when I stop resisting life as it is. And Lita.
It is so. Let's take a breath. Oh, I really enjoyed this talk. I'm just enthralled over this talk that the two of you just had. Thank you so much. So let's take another deep breath. It is so that I live in the now being authentically present in my interactions and experiences.
Mm.
Let's take another deep breath. Ah, it is so that I live in the now, being authentically present in my interactions and experiences. Mm.
And invite each one to take a breath and release the breath too. It says, "It is so that I create bliss beyond belief and see life more clearly."
Yeah.
Let's take a breath and do that again. It is so that I create bliss beyond belief and see life more clearly. It
Yes.
is so, and so it is, and now it is.
Now it is.
Now
Yes.
it
Peace and blessings.
is so
All
much.
right. So I'm going to invite Lita and Baba Oluwole back. I'm going to do a grounding spiritual mind treatment. And you can join, or we can.
We can
Yeah. All right. Yeah. We'll bring you back in just a moment. Okay. And so just knowing that right where I am, God is, whatever name, the creator of all things, by whatever name you choose to use, even if there's no name. It's just the thought, the feeling, the idea, the knowing that there is a power greater, the greatest power that's created everything out of itself. And so, therefore, I know speaking in this place, from this place, knowing this is true of not only me, true of Baba Oluwole, true of Lita, true of Ellen, other practitioner, true of everybody in spiritual centers and churches and mosques and temples and wherever one is, because all of those places are really describing the body temple where spirit lives, where God lives, because it is on the inside. It, infinite truth. Infinite truth is that God is all there is. And so I am knowing that is present and accounted for when we are understanding each one's true nature. And that's because there's only one. And because there's only one, where I am, God is, and where God is, everyone is. We are all, each and every one of us are ones of the one. And so we move and breathe in this space of oneness, knowing that, yes, there is a greater understanding to even loving what the ego may not like, what our fear may not like, that we move beyond that. And we cultivate a mindset of joy and bliss and happiness. Before we get out of bed, we've already set the day. And I know that this is true of each and every one has this capability, this ability, this opportunity to be in the now, to say yes to the divine opportunities, new opportunities, welcome with every breath. It shows up in our all of our affairs, our finances, saying yes to being open and available to receiving all of the abundant nature of the universe for our greater good, because each one is here for a specific purpose and must be supported in that by nature, by law, in order to manifest, in order to be who each and every one is. And it starts with the breath. I am knowing that is true in all of our affairs, being prosperously abundant with all the good that is necessary. I know this is true of our health, that each one says yes to receiving all that is necessary for vibrant, abundant health. Saying yes to all that is nurturing and nourishing with a deeper understanding of, yes, I am in love with all that is here for me, for each and every one of us. I knowing this is true of our relationships. There's only one relationship, and that's a relationship the divine has with itself in its individualized expressions, known as we, each and every one of we, ones of the one. And so I know that this word speaking for a greater understanding, to reveal bliss, to reveal happiness, to reveal love and joy and all of the good, the desirable good from the sacred self, living from the inside out. And I know that this word is already flowing into the law of manifestation, the law of divine right action, divine order. And it simply says, name it and claim it. It is yours already. You get to own it. And it brings these divine, these divine qualities into being. And so I allow it to be the good that it is, affirm it, knowing that it is so, and invite each one to join me in knowing that it is true. It is so, right here, right now, and so it is, and now it is. Thank you, one and all. And at this time, we're going to also give thanks for each and every one who has put in for prayer requests, knowing that this is what we do. We like to pray. We are trained to pray. We love to pray. There's a life of prayer, of faith, of understanding. We are prayer professionals, ready, willing, and able to remind you that spirit is full of power, because spirit is the power, charged and already within you for your immediate use. Requests for prayer support are sent. You can send them to our email, onelove@onelovecenter.org, or prayer requests are kept in the strictest of confidence. And so, as I like to say, as the song goes, use me, use us. This is why we're here. We're here to know the truth in the moments that it seems to escape you. And all requests are kept confidential. We do prayer requests for a period of 7 days. So let us know when your prayer has been answered. If not, we will continue to pray until we hear from you, because we know that that prayer is answered. Also, if you need more in-depth time, you can also send an email for a practitioner session. There is a fee, however, no one is turned away. So also, we want to thank you for your givingness. Thank you for supporting One Love Center, which in turn supports some of the many things that we support, and including you. So we thank you for your givingness. If you'd like to give, donate, tithe, support us in any way that you can. We do have you can send it. You can go to our website, onelovecenter.org, and go to PayPal, or you can use the Cash Me app, which is $OneLoveCSL. And so we just take this moment and take a breath to maybe put your hand over your heart and feel that vibration, feel that life force energy that is pulsating within and vibrating outwardly, sending ripples of love, energy, and just feel that and speak from that place as we recite the affirmation of abundance. That money, as one of many gifts of spirit, is good. As I share my offerings, I know that I am actively creating a space to receive more money, more gift, and more good. And I am grateful for the ability to give and for the good work these gifts do in our center and in our world. And now it is. And any amount that you choose to give is acceptable. Whether it's $1 or $1 million, it doesn't matter. To God, it's all one and the same. And we will put it all to good use. So thank you so very much. We do have some quick announcements. And first and foremost, tech support. We could always use some assistance. One Love Center, we're requesting a member for technical assistance. Or you don't have to be a member, but it would help. That would be great. You can be a member and help manage our broadcasts. You can be a friend or a friend of a friend. If you want to get involved, you want to get into sacred service, we will welcome you. You can contact us through our email, onelove@onelovecenter.org, to be of service. Thank you in advance. And then also, coming up this summer is a New Thought Conference. It's the Celebrating Our Soul, brought to you by people of African descent in New Thought. And it's at Unity Village again. This is our third one, coming up August 13th to the 16th, 2026. Early bird tickets begin December 1st, 2025. We do have awesome speakers lined up and awesome musicians. It's a wonderful time that we get to share across all of the attending New Thought communities. It's not just unity. It's not just religious science or divine science. They're independent New Thought communities, and it's anybody who wants to share in the grounding spiritual principles. So all are invited. You don't have to be, whatever African descent means for you, because that's pretty much everybody on the planet. So, well, that's it, I think, for the announcements. We're going to bring back Baba Oluwole. And any closing remarks before we enter into closing prayer?
Well, sure. I mean, well, first of all, I thought you would at least shout them out and let them know that,
Oh, yes. Well, yeah, we'll bring that back up in here. And we did put some, I don't know if we have a link on your site that leads to the book, but we did put your website links, 2 different links up in the comments.
Right. But we definitely will have you can actually find my book on Amazon. Amazon is called Bliss, The Road to Absolute Happiness by Baba Oluwole Ifakunle. And so it's that's the kind of thing. And well, if there's going to be a comment, it's going to be a comment once again that I say a place of gratitude, and I stay in a place of absolute thankfulness and for your mission, for your direction with your leader, and for all those who are participating in making this effort of making this world for prayer. I hope that everybody's prayers will only manifest in an abundant way, so that they would be able to abundantly support you and be able to help you to grow and establish, as you have thus far, and your commitment to wanting to be not only ordained but also being called, right? Because as we know, so many are called to do the work, but so few laborers are in the field. And so we need laborers in the field to make those things manifest, as you need tech support. So may those things come to you quickly, and being able to expand this mission and this show.
Amen. Thank you. Bless you. Thank you for that. And so we're going to go into our closing prayer, after which we'll have a song, and then we'll come back and say a final goodbye. All right. So I just invite, and you're quite welcome to join me in the prayer, and I'll just pass it off to you. And so just knowing that there's only one power, one life. That life is God's life. That life is my life now. It's the life of each and every one everywhere. Knowing that each and everybody has the opportunity to live a life of absolute bliss and harmony with themselves, first and foremost, and with everyone that we meet and greet. And our path, that folks come up to us because it's our path, and everybody brings some kind of gift for us to find some gratitude. And so I'm saying, yes, we come from a place of understanding, a place of knowing that there is great good available for each and every one of us, and we get to open our mind and live outside the box and know that there is greatness available from within us to show up on the outside. And people already recognize it, and they already come up to us, sometimes to our face, to be up close to that wonderfulness, that greatness, to be bask in the bliss. So I pass my word to Baba Oluwole.
As we gravitate all the powers of the universe to be able to hear your prayers, that the reverberation of the energy and the force and the vigor by which you have ordained your prayer to be heard, not only will it be heard, but it will be transformed into that usable vibration by which is able to engulf within each and every listening part of your audience. And everyone that is take it will not only take that seeds that you have planted today, that we have planted today, those seeds of happiness, that they now will be implanted in each one and each soul. Not only will it be implanted, because we know we only plant one seed, we don't want one seed back, but we want bushels and bushels of happiness in the world, bushels and bushels of bliss that could be manifested. So let your life become a perfect sense of manifestation, a perfect sense of harmony, of light, and of bliss.
And so it is, and now it is.
Now it is.
Thank you, Bliss. What a blessing to have you with us, and we love to have you back, and continued blessings in all of your successes. You know, because you are certainly a man of the world, and you get to touch so many lives everywhere you go, even if you don't go anywhere. So we're going to have a closing song, and then we'll be back after the song. Okay.
All right. Everything is an inside job. Everything is an inside job. Change the way you're looking at a thing. The thing you're looking at is gonna change. Everything is an inside job. Everything is an inside job. You may have to dig deeper to mind what will release you. A feeling that you had that left you feeling sad. And there's nothing you can have outside yourself to fix it. And that's the reason why sometimes we have to cry to let it all go. Be still and know everything is an inside job. Everything is an inside job. Change the way you're looking at a thing. The thing you're looking at is gonna change. Everything is an inside job. Everything is an inside job. You may have to dig deeper to mind what will release you. This may be hard to take, but the things we tend to hate is not a God mistake. Placed here to be corrected. Every player has a role to make this world a whole, not for us to control. Be still and know everything is an inside job. Inside job. Change the way you're looking at a thing. The thing you're looking at is gonna change. Everything is an inside job. Well, you may have to dig deeper to mind what will release you. Everything is an inside job. Everything is an inside job. Change the way you're looking at a thing. The thing you're looking at is gonna change. Everything is an inside job. Well, oh yeah, you may have to dig deeper to mind what will release you.
Yes, all right. Everything, including your bliss, your happiness, your joy, your love. Thank you again, brother. Thank you.
You're certainly welcome, and thank you.
Oh, yes. So we'll see you all again next week. We're going to be using your book all month.
Oh,
you know. So yes, we appreciate you and all that you gift to the universe. So so everybody tune in next week. Peace and blessings.